If we had last year's Matthew Stafford plus the Adrian Peterson we've had this year, can you imagine the damage this offense would be doing? And Kenny back. I mean, it's all, ifs, ands, or buts, or what ifs, right? But no, looking good. Let's talk a little bit about Kenny Golladay. Actually, came back, didn't do this, the long verticals. Obviously, his hammy wasn't 100% based on how he was. A lot of crossing routes for Kenny, right? A lot of crossing routes to try to get him open, and a lot of them worked. It was. He had a good day. He had some really, really good catches. Talk to me a little bit, though, Case, about receiver depth. Tell me about, we got Kenny back. Hopefully this week he'll be even better and be able to go vertical and be a threat and put Marvin Jones into his better position that he plays, or playing, the role that he fits in better. Talk about the depth right now.
I know you guys talked about Marvin Jones a little bit with one of the callers after the game, and that he hasn't exactly been blowing it up on the stat sheet this year. But I think it's, I think you guys may have overstated the issue a bit. I mean, we're still only 3 weeks into the season.
Are you saying that you're a simp for Marvin? Is that where we're at?
Right, I am going to simp for Marvin.
That's what I was. Okay.
But I always do. So,
yeah.
But I mean, he still comes through in the clutch multiple times. When you need him. I think that he has not seen as many looks from Stafford because they've been trying other things, but that's the good thing about where they're at right now with the receiver depth. And I'm not talking specifically wide receivers, but the receivers in general, the running backs, tight ends additionally in that group. And, Jamal Agnew being out there doing his thing too, is that we don't have to force the ball to Marvin Jones now. There was a time when we had to get the ball to him a lot, because we didn't have anybody else. And now, I can't say what I said earlier about struggling in the red zone, but moving up and down the field, they don't need to rely so heavily on those contested catches from him. Those are dangerous plays. And that's, it's a contested catch for a reason. Mm-hmm. If they don't need to make those, then don't try to make those. They're doing a great job. And you said, you mentioned Kenny on crossing routes. They've been doing a good job with the tight ends, getting, scheming them open. If you can move the ball up and down the field using those kind of things, you don't need to go to your, perimeter receiver who isn't necessarily the fastest guy in the league and doesn't necessarily get the best separation. I still would like to see them go to Marvin a little bit more in the end zone, because we all know that he comes down with the ball when it's a jump ball situation almost all the time. Yeah. But those are still, like I say, those are dangerous throws, because obviously the DB is always going to have a much better chance at either knocking it away or, heaven forbid, coming down with the interception themselves. It's nice that we have the depth we have at receiver right now, because we don't need to rely on it. That's all I was trying to get at.
That's all?
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. I think Kenny and MJ make each other better. I just think the two of them, both healthy, make each other better because of the role they play. And I think Marvin has been missing Kenny with the depth that they have, just because they are the guys that give us the help. Hull has been helpful a little bit, but he's not as much as a threat. Remember Corey Fuller? Mm-hmm. When he could outrun anybody, but he was never a threat. He'd just be standing down the sideline by himself, just running sprints, right? Nobody covered him because they didn't care, because they knew he couldn't catch the ball. So these guys bring a real threat. I want to talk about Kerryon. Have you heard the name Kerryon Johnson before?
Maybe.
He's very quietly having a really good year, and he's doing the stuff that isn't super flashy, doesn't get the headlines, but anybody would want their teammate to be a Kerryon Johnson out there. Kerryon has been really, really killing it, playing a team game out there. Number one pass protection running back in the league right now. This is from Mod Abs, by the way, in the subreddit. And oh, by the way, while he's doing that, he's knocking down 4.5 or 4.4 yards per carry. That's pretty good. He's not getting a lot of carries. He's not doing a whole lot on the field, but he is out there making a real difference. And I think you're going to see Kerryon break out a little bit as the season goes on. You're going to see him. The thing about Jesse James yesterday was He was an absolute surprise. You talk about guys that aren't getting covered. Nobody thought Jesse James would ever get the ball because he didn't. We've been playing the long game here for over a year, not throwing the ball to him. Right? We're setting Kerryon up for the same kind of a thing in the right kind of time to have a really, really spectacular game, and the other team's going to have to figure out how to adjust to him, and when they do, then we'll have our adjustment from that. So I think this is a really good setup. Kerryon's been killing it out there. Really, really knocking it down. I gotta Jim.
I'm very much excited for the Kerryon Redemption Tour.
Yeah.
I've always been a huge fan of his, and I always really liked the way he ran the ball.
Greasy.
Obviously, the poor guy just couldn't stay healthy, and that's,
Yeah. And this year, I remember, like I said, when I go to August, I think about where people looked at this year and said, boy, that first 4 games, we walk out of that. If we walk out of that 1-3, I'm going to be happy. We're going to win the Chicago game, but we're going to lose Green Bay, Arizona, and New Orleans. Can you imagine? I mean, seriously. And so we lost in Chicago, and the world was on fire. It was over. Then we lost to Green Bay, and the world was on fire. Right? It was absolutely over. And then we won to Arizona, and it's like, well, you didn't really win that game, but they lost it. But whatever. And like people are in this weird spot. We're going to come out probably 1-3, maybe if things go well, 2-2 into the bye. And we'll talk about the schedule coming up. I looked ahead. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Kerryon Johnson, really, really good.